These tomato plants really need to be in the ground. It's finally time to plant out my tomatoes. Some of my tomatoes have been hardening off in this cold frame here. You can see that they're absolutely huge, and ideally these would have gone out quite some time ago. We've had funny sort of weather this year and everything is really a little bit behind, but with tomatoes it's important not to plant them outside until you consistently have temperatures above 10 degrees centigrade at night. So these guys have been patiently waiting in their small pots. I'm going to be planting my tomatoes in this bed here. Tomatoes really do love the sun and the heat. This is in full sun, so they'll really like this spot. Put stakes in before planting the tomatoes so you don't damage the root system. Push your canes about a foot into the soil. Space about 2 feet apart. So I've got my canes firmly in the ground. Tomatoes will be heavy with all of the fruit, so I'm going to add some horizontal supports to these canes. Just to give them a little bit more support. Now that my supports are in, it's time to plant my tomatoes. Carefully remove the tomato plant from its pot. You can see my tomato plant is really pot bound and it's desperate to get into the ground. The great thing with tomatoes is they will grow adventitious roots. That means they will root along the stem. It's a good idea to plant tomatoes quite deeply. This will help to anchor them and stabilise the tomatoes with all of that heavy fruit. Take off the lower leaves. You can really plant quite deeply. I'm going to plant to here. You can tease the roots out gently if yours are pot bound like mine. Firm your tomato in well. I'm just going to remove any lower leaves touching the soil. When tomato leaves touch the soil, they can increase your risk of getting blight, and they won't miss those lower leaves. This is a variety called Marmande, which is a beefsteak tomato. Next, I'm going to tie this in to the cane. When you're tying tomatoes in, I always create a small loop just behind the tomato to give it space to expand. You also always want to tie your knot onto the cane rather than onto the tomato itself. You'll need to keep tying them in as they grow. As tomatoes grow, you will want to pinch out these side shoots. That looks much happier already. I'm going to plant the rest of these tomatoes now, and then I will water them in. I'm also going to show you what companion plants I'm going to be putting with these tomatoes. Always water tomatoes at the base of the plants, taking care not to splash the leaves. Again, this will help to prevent the risk of blight. With our tomatoes planted out, it's now time to think about companion planting. One of the most common that you'll see is marigolds. Marigolds are fantastic. They act both as a trap crop for the slugs, who will go straight for the marigolds over other plants. The bright blooms of marigolds will also attract important pollinators. I'm going to dot these marigolds around in between my tomatoes. I have quite a lot of space in between my tomatoes, which I want to make productive use of. You'll see that I already have some self-seeded amaranth in here. Amaranth is an ancient grain. It's also called Lovelo's bleeding and makes a pretty cut flour. Amaranths are actually great companions for tomatoes. Their flowers attract a lot of predatory insects which will eat things like aphids. I am going to keep an eye on how tall they grow though and pinch some of them out because I want to maintain good airflow. The other thing that I'm going to plant in the middle of this bed is leeks. Leeks, like marigolds, give off a strong scent and will deter aphids and other tomato pests. The leeks themselves will also benefit from the shade that the tomato plants will provide them in the hottest part of the summer. I'll do an update on how this bed is getting on and how to keep tying in and pinching out your tomatoes for the best harvest. I'll also show you how to keep an eye out for diseases like blight